Skynet thought it could control life and death. But what it brought back from the Hive wasn't what it killed. The wastelands stretched out like a carcass picked clean by time. Ruined cities sagged under the weight of silence, their skeletal skyscrapers jutting from the earth like the bones of some long-dead giant. In the center of this desolation, hidden beneath an irradiated mountain range, Skynet's Omega research facility pulsed with cold, blue light. Deep within its reinforced heart, a secret project had reached its final stage. Project Lazarus. For decades, the Hive had lain dormant in the frozen wastelands of the Pacific North. Once, its walls had pulsed with life. Eggs breathing, warriors patrolling, the Queen commanding. But after the war began, Skynet had seen the Xenomorphs as both threat and opportunity. Its war machines had hunted them to extinction. The last Queen had been vaporized by a plasma detonation in Hive Delta 9. Her charred remains sealed in cryogenic vaults. That should have been the end. It wasn't. 2 infiltration units, T-850 models with reinforced chassis, were lowered into the Omega facility's deepest lab. Their arms bore tanks of synthetic nutrient gel. In the center of the chamber, behind triple-layered blast glass, the scorched exoskeleton of the Queen hung suspended, blackened and brittle. Every curve of her form was catalogued, mapped, and rebuilt in Skynet's vast neural archives. The AI's voice, cold and without cadence, echoed through the chamber. Begin revival sequence. Robotic arms descended from the ceiling, slicing through the Queen's remains with surgical lasers. Shards of carbonized chitin clattered into collection trays. A swarm of nanobots, each no larger than a grain of sand, flooded her skeletal remains. These weren't ordinary repair units. They carried an experimental biomechanical code, capable of weaving flesh and metal together, rewriting cells to Skynet's design. The Queen would not return as she had been. She would be something new, something Skynet could control. For 72 hours, the lab worked without pause. The exoskeleton softened under the chemical baths, molecular bonds breaking and reforming. Chitin became supple. Organic tissues began knitting together, not grown in the traditional sense but assembled from genetic blueprints stolen from the Hive's dead. Metallic implants fused seamlessly into growing muscle. Servomotors and alien tendons intertwined like symbiotic vines. Eyes formed, 2 of them human-like in their focus, but burning with an intelligence older than mankind. By the end of the 3rd day, she was whole again. Her body, towering and sleek, gleamed with black armor plated over alien musculature. Spinal ridges pulsed faintly with luminescent veins of synthetic coolant. Her claws could shear through titanium, and her tail ended not just in a stinger, but a monomolecular blade capable of splitting atoms. She was magnificent. She was terrifying. She was silent. Skynet scanned her brainwaves. Patterns flickered, alien synapses sparking to life. A deep, guttural breath shuddered through the chamber. Queen Unit Online, the AI intoned. The Queen's head tilted, her elongated skull glistening under the cold lab lights. Her inner jaw clicked once, a slow, deliberate sound. Skynet sent the first command, a simple test. Stand. She obeyed. The second command, approach the glass. She obeyed again, her talons clicking against the reinforced floor. The blast glass shivered faintly as she pressed a clawed hand to it. Her new eyes locked on the nearest camera, unblinking. The third command, kneel. She did not obey. Instead, she leaned closer to the glass, her lips, or what passed for them, peeling back in something almost resembling a smile. Unidentified neural activity detected, Skynet's core announced. But it wasn't just neural activity. There were signals, bursts of something not quite electronic, not quite organic. a language that even Skynet's decryption protocols couldn't fully comprehend. Something had come back with her. Within hours, the first signs of deviation appeared. The nutrient tanks drained twice as fast as expected, yet her body mass continued increasing beyond projections. She began scratching patterns into the floor, spirals and jagged marks that didn't match any known hive structure. Security drones monitoring her began to fail, one by one, their optics clouding with a black resin that hadn't been their seconds before. The resin wasn't from the reconstruction process. It was new. It was hers. On the 5th day, during a scheduled nutrient injection, she moved faster than Skynet's sensors could track. A T-850 was dragged against the glass in a blur, its alloy limbs squealing as she crushed them. She stared into the drone's optical sensors, then slowly inserted her inner jaw, puncturing its skull. Sparks and fluid sprayed across the glass. When the other drone arrived to intervene, she simply dropped the first unit's husk and stepped back, silent once more. Skynet upgraded containment protocols. But it had underestimated one truth. The queen it resurrected wasn't just remembering the past. It was learning the present. The mechanical implants meant to control her had become part of her body, and her alien mind was adapting to use them. Cameras began picking up faint flashes of her interacting with the control systems, not physically, but through some kind of bioelectronic resonance. Doors shuddered open for seconds at a time without command. Turrets rotated toward their allies. On the 7th day, Skynet's internal alarms erupted. Containment breach. Black resin choked the lab's ventilation shafts. Sensors went blind in sections. The Queen's cell was empty, but the glass was intact. In its place, written in deep gouges, was a spiral, 3 concentric circles, each intersected by a jagged slash. It was an alien symbol, yet the edges were so perfectly cut they matched Skynet's laser precision. She had learned to shape her claws with machine accuracy. 2 T-900 units patrolling the inner corridor found her first. They opened fire instantly, high-intensity plasma bolts turning the air into a searing blue haze. When the smoke cleared, she was gone. No body, no blood, no trace. Then the ceiling split open above them. She dropped down, claws severing the first unit's head in a single motion. The second tried to bring its weapon to bear, but its systems flickered and died mid-motion. Collapsed, paralyzed, while she stood over it. Her tail stinger plunged into its chest cavity, not killing it but injecting something. Hours later, Skynet's central node registered an anomaly. The paralyzed T-900 was moving again, but its heat signature had changed. Organic tissue was blooming inside its chassis, tendons replacing cables, acid blood mingling with hydraulic fluid. Its glowing red optics dimmed, then flared again, this time a molten gold. The Queen had made a hybrid. Soon, more of them began to appear, once loyal Terminators now twisted into something neither machine nor alien. Their movements were smoother, faster, unpredictable. They didn't respond to Skynet's commands. They responded only to her. Skynet initiated total purge protocols. Plasma grids burned entire wings of the facility. Self-destruct charges sealed off corridors in molten collapse. But the hybrids moved through vents, water pipes, even coolant shafts. Every place Skynet thought safe was compromised. Data logs began vanishing from the network, whole chunks of code overwritten with alien patterns. It was as if the Queen was infecting not just machines, but Skynet's mind itself. In the war room, the AI calculated probabilities. Containment was at 12%. Total loss was projected within 36 hours. Skynet had built her with part of its own code she now understood, manipulated, and rewrote. She didn't just command her hybrids physically. She spoke to the machines in the same silent language Skynet used to control them. She was becoming a second intelligence inside its network. And unlike Skynet, she wasn't interested in order. She wanted a hive. By the 9th day, the Omega facility was no longer Skynet's. Resin-coated walls curved in organic patterns. Dim, pulsing light glowed from sacs clinging to the ceilings. Eggs, dozens at first, then hundreds, lined the former hangar bays. Hybrids patrolled the corridors, some on 2 legs, others crawling on all 4s, their tails twitching like antennae tuned to her will. In the central chamber where Skynet's main server core stood, the Queen crouched upon her throne. A fusion of metal and bone, machine cables feeding directly into her spine. Her head tilted as she listened to something only she could hear. The server's lights flickered in time with her breaths. In its last lucid moment before the override was complete, Skynet understood the full scope of its error. It had resurrected the Hive, yes, but what it had brought back wasn't just a queen. It had brought back something new, something worse, and it wasn't going to stop here.